Welcome to another episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing, a podcast where I interview young people about their journeys in manufacturing, how they intend to influence the industry, and what they are looking for from an employer. For this episode, I welcome Bailey Olmschenk, a 27-year-old director of solutions engineering at Prometheus Group, a company that develops AI-powered EAM software for plants and facilities. Olmschenk's career began with a series of engineering internships and over 2 years as a process engineer at consulting firm Stantec. In 2023, she joined Prometheus as a solutions engineer and was recently promoted to her current leadership position, where she focuses on making AI accessible to workers who do not traditionally rely on the technology. Before we hear from Olmschenk, please make sure to like and share this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@in.com. All right, Bailey, well, thank you for joining this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. I wanted to start off by getting you to explain your interest in sustainability that led to you pursuing a career in manufacturing, and I was curious what initially sparked that interest.
Yeah, so my initial interest in sustainability just basically started in high school when I was part of different recycling initiatives that we had. I also saw a couple Netflix documentaries, which sounds kind of silly, about sustainability. So I kind of took that and ran with it. In college, I was a bioproducts engineering major, which is kind of not super similar to what I'm doing today in software. But I started thinking maybe I was going to do something in renewable energy, solar energy, food and bev, anything like that. I really wanted to work in renewable plant proteins. So that's where I started out my career in consulting. I was actually designing plants that kind of aligned with that part of the industry. And then I quickly found that I didn't really like just kind of sitting at my desk and grinding away, starting to design things like in Excel and Bluebeam and everything like that. Great job, just not for me. So I became a fitness coach for a little bit and coached group HIIT classes. And then from there, I came to the software space so I could work with different customers every day, do presentations and podcasts like this. Because I really like interacting with people and wanted a little bit more of a social job.
I noticed that you spent a little over 2 years at a company called Stantec before Prometheus. And I was wondering, how did that experience shape your career? And then what eventually made you decide it was time for a change?
Yeah. So when I was at Stantec, that's when I was doing a lot of the design work. That gave me a lot of insight on how manufacturing plant operates, how all the different machinery is designed and all the effort to go into that. All the different specs that you have to lay out down to what kind of bolts are we using on this big piece of machinery, all the different kind of sensors that we have. So now at Prometheus, when I work on more the software space for manufacturing and I'm on site with customers, I have a good understanding of their needs because of that experience at Stantec.
How did you discover Prometheus and what about the company enticed you?
Yeah, so I basically wanted to move somewhere warmer. I'm originally from Minnesota, so Prometheus is in Raleigh. They have a lot of different engineering companies, software companies. So just looking around in the space, I had a couple colleagues at Stantec too who had heard of it because they had used it at their previous jobs, the Prometheus software. So I ended up applying, just thought it was really an intriguing way to have a more customer facing role, but also use my engineering degree. So yeah, that's basically how I found Prometheus. And I feel like I found a hidden gem here because I didn't really know exactly what I was getting into with this role when I first started it, but I've honestly just loved showing up every single day for my job.
Did you pick Raleigh or Prometheus first?
I would say I was looking somewhere in the southern part of the United States. So I basically picked that region and then I looked through different companies that I might have been interested in and I found Prometheus Group.
Because I think I've noticed that a lot of younger people prefer to live where they want to live first, if that makes sense, before chasing jobs. Do you think that's consistent with how Gen Z operates?
Yeah, that's definitely consistent with what most myself operates. I chose my region and then my company. And I would say a lot of my friends who also work in the engineering space will choose where they want to work and then the company that they're looking for. I know on LinkedIn, when you search for jobs, it's company or role, or you could search for location, and everybody's doing location first. I would say that's probably the priority.
How would you say Prometheus supported your growth throughout all your different roles you've had with them?
Before this director role, I was a team lead for the solutions engineering team. And the way I kind of got that role was I just told my boss I was really interested in being a leader. And he was like, hey, you know what? You can lead this small group. Let's see how it goes. And then he kind of mentored me up to be an even better leader and to even enhance my skills to the point where they actually wanted me to lead the entire team. So I think they've actually done a really good job, not only in my role, but I've also seen a lot of younger people in Gen Z who they want an opportunity. Prometheus just allows them to go for it, and they support that. So we've got a lot of really good young leaders here, I would say.
There's a stereotype among young people, and I don't know if it's exclusive to them or it might just be for all generations, but it's that Gen Z has a tendency to hop around jobs, and they're not going to stay at the first job they get. And as someone who has had 2 professional jobs, what do you think about that take?
That doesn't surprise me because I do see people jumping around, especially in tech. I think it's really easy to get a lot of experience quickly and jump somewhere else. But I also see, as someone who wants to stay at Prometheus and I really enjoy my job, that kind of as an advantage. Because if other people are jumping out, that means that I can kind of jump up and take some of those opportunities. But I would confirm that stereotype that's pretty true about Gen Z. They're always looking for the next new thing. And sometimes I would say that can be a little bit unrealistic. You don't need a promotion every 6 months kind of thing, you know? But I do like everyone kind of being ambitious in that sense.
So in the manufacturing industry, especially, retention is a big topic that's being discussed currently. What factors do you think influence whether a young worker is going to stay or move on? What should employers be on the lookout for?
So one thing that I know that Gen Z workers are looking for when I go to like conferences, go to on-sites, they are looking for companies to adopt newer technologies. If they come somewhere where maybe they just graduated college, they used iPads, computers, they used AI, everything like that, and they come into a manufacturing plant and they're like, whoa, we're using paper again? Like, I feel like I can do this so much quicker using the technology that I know. Long story short, if they're at a site where there's no technology, they might not see that they're likely to succeed because that's where I think the majority of their skills are going to lie with before they get all that experience a couple of years into the industry. And I'd say the same thing for software as well. And I think with the Gen Z wanting to like hop around, step up, like I've got a team where we kind of have a mix of like Gen Z and millennial, I would say. And I always have to make sure that there's always different goals and ways they can be more ambitious with their role on the horizon. Like I like to have like Q1, Q2 goals that they're able to hit that are really high, because if I just said, oh, just keep doing your job, you're doing great. That's, I think, when Gen Z starts to get a little bit bored.
You told me in our email exchange that you focus on making AI accessible for people who do not traditionally rely on that technology in their daily work. Who are you referring to specifically when you say that?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the Prometheus software and how we're trying to use AI, traditionally, we're talking about people in manufacturing plants, maybe like a plant maintenance planner, scheduler, supervisor, manager. A lot of the work that they still do, if they've digitized it, is like copy, paste, click, click. Like they do a lot of repetitive work. So we're exploring how we can use different AI agents to, instead of doing like a click, 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 click 100 different times, they can go in and say, hey, I want to change the duration of this job to 5 for every work order that has this word in it. And then an AI agent would go in and change all of those things. Or, hey, this happened on the site floor. What should I do next? So that's another importance of getting the context into AI models from the older generations before they retire, so newer generations can use that data effectively.
What main skills gaps do you notice between generations on maintenance teams in these manufacturing plants?
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely kind of like I mentioned before, where like someone who's been working in a plant for 20 years, they're really familiar on how to fix certain assets, and they might not even be writing that down. They just kind of know it in their head. Whereas someone in Gen Z coming into a role like that, they'll have no idea how to fix something just because they haven't been at the site long enough. And since they tend to move roles a lot more, nobody's getting all of that experience that they need to maintain these assets. So I think if people don't start adopting more technology and getting that, what we like to call like tribal knowledge out of people who might retire as heads into some type of technology, we might lose that altogether and have to start from scratch when it comes to maintaining our assets. So I'd say that's probably the biggest gap, is just kind of knowing how the site works from all your years and years of experience. Whereas the older generation, is always lacking a little bit on the technology side. But I would say I'd be pleasantly surprised by a lot of people we've been working with on the older side in terms of how they've been able to pick up AI. But AI is kind of intrinsically a little bit easy because it's unlike the internet where you kind of have to like really search for something. You can be pretty vague. You can have spelling errors. You could not exactly know what you're talking about. And AI can kind of understand that a little bit better. So I've been pleasantly surprised with that.
Do you worry at all that manufacturers that are trying to implement AI don't have their data all in place? I mean, you mentioned that you can have a few misspellings and it'll still give you what you want. But if you have bad data, it's going to spit out a bad solution. Do you have any concerns with that?
Yeah, I would say that's a concern for a lot of people looking at AI tools. For example, if we need to do a job and all we have in our system right now is fix the pump, when I ask AI to generate a job for me, it's going to give me a very vague description as well. So what we're telling a lot of our customers on kind of on the verge of AI before they start to implement, maybe months before the project, is I think the first thing you should do is do like a master data cleanse and look at all the materials in your ERP system, look at all your job plans, try to make sure everything is as straight as possible before you implement AI, because garbage in, garbage out.
What are some ways you think companies can help teams upskill and adopt AI tools without overwhelming them?
That's a good question. So one way that we've approached this is before we introduce an AI tool, we don't just say like, hey, we're going to train on this AI tool. We first introduce we call it like a use case. I think this is like a common term that a lot of people are using in the industry. So we're first like, this is the goal or the gap that we see where people are doing a lot of manual processes or they're not doing it all. So that's what we first identify is the challenge. And then I've gotten really into the habit of explaining how the AI actually works and trying to simplify it. So and then also doing like a kind of like a business case or a time series test to say like, hey, this is what you're doing now. It takes 9 hours out of your week. If we use AI, it's only going to take a couple of hours. So starting with like the business case first, explaining like the use case and the mission of what we're trying to do, and then simplifying the actual use of the AI tool. One way, and this is kind of granular getting into the tech, but with AI, you can type in like prompts like, I want you to do this. Or another option is maybe you have first like a multiple choice of what it can do. So starting small to be like the user doesn't just come up with what they want it to do. They can either do option A, option B, or option C. Like that would be a really easy way to ease somebody in once they're actually beginning to do that end user training.
There are concerns that AI is going to replace jobs and put people out of work. And I think the industry is maybe catching on that that's a little incorrect. But I did hear someone say that AI is not going to replace a human, but someone that understands AI could replace that worker. Do you see any truth to that? Or what would you say that someone needs to know just basic about this technology?
Yeah, so it's funny. I go to conferences and I'll like present on the topic of AI. And I'm surrounded at work by people who really understand AI, but people don't even really know the basics of like where the information on ChatGPT comes from. So like I said before, AI can only spit out what you give it. So it only has the context that it has already within the tool. So like when it comes to like creative thinking or problem solving, I think humans are always going to be better at that because AI can only know what it's already learned, as well as when it comes to something like manufacturing, where we're going for like 100% efficiency, we're going for no safety incidents. At this point in time right now, we are so far away from that goal. And especially with an industry that doesn't have as many people as they need. They're always trying to hire more people, can't find the talent. So they're pretty much using AI just to fill that gap. And I don't see AI replacing people's jobs in manufacturing, but making their day-to-day a lot easier and probably just increasing the uptime and profits of the company, as well as increasing the safety. Because right now we're just not able to do that without technology. So in manufacturing itself, I would say I can't talk to AI in general, like, hey, is it going to take everyone's jobs? But where I'm seeing it go in AI or in manufacturing right now is it's making people's jobs easier. It's making us more efficient, but we're not to a point where we even have enough people in manufacturing to be doing all these jobs.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. Please make sure to like and share the episode. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@in.com.